Hello everyone, this is Ricky Marvel 69 Comics again, and today I'm going to give my opinion on X-Men Evolution Season 5, which got canceled before they did Wolverine and the X-Men. Now, X-Men Evolution Season 5 would have been about Jean Grey turning into the Phoenix, but the series sadly got canceled after Season 4, and it's because the series was doing so good they had to cancel it. But yeah, this was a pretty awesome series. Season 1 was mainly about introducing the characters. Season 2 was mainly about going into the Sentinel program. Season 3 and Season 4 was about Apocalypse. And yeah, this series was pretty good, and they had interesting storylines and unique characters from the comics. And, you know, it would have been awesome to see X-Men Evolution Season 5 because it was supposed to be about Jean Grey turning into the Phoenix, and the X-Men were supposed to go against her. But I'm very sad that I never get the chance to see X-Men Evolution Season 5 because I really love this series. It had a lot of good character development, a lot of good stories, a lot of good, everything. It had everything that's perfect for it. Just for some reason got turned into Wolverine and X-Men. Now, of course, the series itself had a lot of good animation, and, having them go up against Apocalypse at the end of the series made pretty sense, but I really wish they did Season 5. And it just turned out pretty interesting. Now, going into the stories itself, X-Men Evolution, to me, it had a pretty dark tone when it got to Season 2, especially when Professor X in Season 2 got captured by Mystique, and that's when the Sentinel program went after all the mutants, and Trask took over, and then it's kind of like in Wolverine and the X-Men, where they did, Days of Future Past, but here they did it differently. They didn't do Days of Future Past because they didn't want to do that. They wanted to wait for another series to do that. But that's what I like about this series. It also had guest stars. It had Captain America make a guest appearance. It had Nick Fury help get Apocalypse. It had, a couple of those characters. And yeah, and having Nick Fury in this series made pretty sense if you think about it, because the SHIELD had to help the X-Men go up against Apocalypse at the end of the series. When the series ended, I was really sad that the series had to end because I really wish they did a Season 5, like I said before. It would have became one of the best Marvel series I've ever seen, in my opinion. And when I grew up with this, and Season 5 would have been more about the Phoenix story, like I said earlier. And having the series get canceled, I just really want a Season 5. I know they can't redo the series, but I hope someday they actually get to their mind and actually do the series. And Season 1, of course, most people, you can watch this series with a kid, you can watch it with a grown-up, because it has adult themes in it. And it's just like the X-Men comics, where they were always hated, just like, people were always hated and bullied. And when they got to Season 3 and Season 4, that's when they went to the modern X-Men comics from the 60s to the present, where they were always hated and they were protesting and everything. But Seasons 1 and 2 were about them hiding a secret. And I really like the idea that they actually got the chance to do them going to high school, because it made sense for them to be in reality. But yeah, I noticed that some people had problems with all the X-Men going into a regular high school when they already have a school, but I actually like it that way because it makes really sense for the story. And, this series has a lot of storylines, but, the biggest storyline is the Apocalypse storyline, which started in Season 2. And, Season 1 ended, with Magneto and Mystique getting into a machine, and Mystique gets more powerful, and then you see Magneto in another episode in Season 2 with Captain America. So, yeah, the series can connect from Season 1 to Season 3, and it's pretty interesting to actually see all of them do that. But yeah, Season 1 had 13 episodes, Season 2 had 17 episodes. Season 2 had a pretty long episodes, pretty much more episodes, because they were getting into the more adult theme for the X-Men for modern comic book fans like me. And I'm a big fan of the comics, and it makes pretty sense for them to do that, because they were growing up and they were becoming more adultish. And, having that be like that, it just makes sense. And going back to the Apocalypse storyline, I love that they actually used Rogue as the Apocalypse storyline, to show that she took all the powers and he absorbed them from her, and then he became Apocalypse and he was reborn and whatnot. So yeah, and then Season 4 only had like 9 episodes. Season 3 only had like 13. The last episode of the series ended with all of them standing together, and being very sad that all the events that happened, and it's really sad. To me, when I was watching that last episode, I was really sad that the series had to end like that. I really wish they went on a little further with the stories. But then they made Wolverine and the X-Men, and of course I reviewed that. I didn't really get into detail with that series that much, because X-Men Evolution to me was more of a better series. It had more storylines, more interesting, characters. Yeah, season 5 would have been much more interesting. I really wish they actually did do that, and you know, but they did this different from the comics if you think about it, because the original X-Men in the comics were Cyclops, Beast, Iceman, Jean Grey, and Angel. But then in the beginning of the series, you see Cyclops, Jean Grey, and then Nightcrawler joins the team, and then Wolverine was already part of the team, and Beast didn't come until a little later. So yeah, they changed some stuff from the comics, but still a good show to watch with your kids or watch with a grown-up, because you can relate to that, and having the series like that makes really sense. And so I just want to give my thoughts on X-Men Evolution. And speaking of X-Men Evolution Season 5, it would have been awesome to have the Avengers, because I personally think Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes takes place after this series. Because if you think about it, Wolverine and the X-Men, there's just no way Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes had the same continuity as Wolverine and the X-Men, because they were trying to find Professor X. So I personally think X-Men Evolution has the same continuity as Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and it has fantastic animation. And I will review Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes sometime, but going back to what I was saying, Wolverine and the X-Men was more of a continuation of another series. It was like a redo of a series, but X-Men Evolution to me is Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes is a continuation of X-Men Evolution, because if you see the Wolverine, because in Hulk versus Wolverine, you see the Professor, which is William Stryker, getting the memory from Wolverine, just like he did in the comics. But then in an episode of X-Men Evolution Season 1, you see a scene where it's the same Professor with the same animation. And then, that's what got me thinking, well, this series has to take place before Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Some people might disagree with me, but that's fine. But I personally think X-Men Evolution is a perfect series to watch, with your kids. And, it just has a lot of good storylines, and it's just like Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and Spider-Man MTV's new animated series, and Spectacular Spider-Man and the Spider-Man 90s animated series. It just has that good story that you can actually watch, and you can relate to that, just like it did in the comics when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created the characters. And, it's just very interesting to see, a Season 5, when Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created the original X-Men, with Cyclops, Beast, Iceman, Jean Grey, and Angel, it was more about them being, hated by the world, and that's what this series did. It showed us that, you're not always different. You're not always, someone that's always going to be different. Don't let any bully, say that you're a different person. Just ignore them and, be who you are, and I just love that in the series, and that's how I like like I said, I like the idea that they actually, put them in high school, because it makes us relate to them, makes us relate to these characters, and it makes really sense for us to relate to these characters and have them, grow over the series and become from teenagers to adults. And then at the end of the last episode, they showed the future of, the X-Men, and they all grown up. They all, went against Apocalypse, who nearly destroyed the world and made everyone in the millions, and, it made really sense. So yeah, there's my thoughts on X-Men Evolution. I hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm going to soon review Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes and a couple of the Marvel animated series and Marvel movies. But yeah, I just had to get my review. Thank you.